Good evening, you're watching News Mongolian World. I'm your host, Darkhan. And for top stories, Mongolia's Minister of Foreign Affairs refutes claims made by Russian officials. Darkhan metallurgy plant returns to state management. And Ministry of Culture will work to develop digital content production. And for the news, stay tuned. Recently, some high-ranking Russian officials have claimed that the US held talks with Mongolia about establishing biological laboratories following the start of Russia's military operations in Ukraine. On Sunday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mongolia issued an official statement on its website and social media accounts stating that these are false and unsubstantiated claims. On April 18th, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mongolia, gave a statement regarding the allegations.
Mongolian laws and regulations have no goals or grounds for developing such laboratories. There were no talks or negotiations held with the US or European Union on establishing such laboratories. This information has been published 4 times in the Russian newspaper Izvestia. It was also reported by Chinese media. Regarding this, I would like to state that the information is undeniably false. Mongolia continues to pursue a peaceful, open, multi-pillared foreign relations policy. If necessary, it is possible to invite independent international organizations to assess the laboratories in Mongolia. We have detailed information on all projects, programs, and studies that Mongolia's public organizations have implemented with foreign investment and funding. The relevant organizations reported to members of the MPP caucus that there are no grounds for these claims. It was also reported to the President of Mongolia, the Speaker of Parliament, and the Prime Minister. Since the beginning of the armed conflict, the media war has intensified and everyone has been making reports to destabilize the political situation and create misunderstanding within the country. In Mongolia, everything is transparent. It's an open, democratic country with freedom of expression. There is no denying that this situation is being exploited to divide the country. Minister Batsitsik added that Mongolia maintains diplomatic relations and cooperation with 193 countries, and that about 400 diplomats are working to regulate Mongolia's complex political and economic foreign relations.
In 2014, the government of Mongolia privatized the management of Darkhan metallurgy plant through a concession agreement with QSC LLC. The company failed to reach its goals for production, so the government of Mongolia plans to cancel the concession agreement and return to state management of the plant. Currently, the plant has a debt of around 630 billion MNT in unpaid taxes and social insurance fees. Around 1,500 of the plant's workers have difficulty receiving medical services, and some have been banned from traveling abroad.
There are plans to modify the management rules for state-owned entities, changing their administrative structure and appointing board members. The government plans to establish an integrated metallurgy and mining complex and says it will pay special attention to workers' working environment and social insurance issues. Ministry of Finance, Darkhan, provided some clarification on upcoming plans.
Darkhan metallurgy state-owned enterprise status is still active. We are just cancelling the concession agreement since the contractor failed to meet its obligations. The state will manage the plant, and we plan to establish a metallurgy and mining complex to produce high-quality steel products.
Local authorities have held public meetings to cooperate with the plant's trade union on improving workers' social conditions.
Even though the plant produces some construction materials, many of the plant's workers still have no housing. The Darkhan province government will provide the land to construct an apartment complex to provide workers with affordable apartments.
Of course, the social situation of the workers should be improved. Compared to other companies operating in the same sector, our salaries are not that competitive. Even though they were increased by 10%, salaries should be increased by at least 30% as soon as possible.
The average salary for plant employees is 1.3 million Mongolian turuk, and it currently employs 1,200 workers.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, the cultural sector earned more than 60% of its revenue online. While the incomes of people in the arts and culture sector have declined, the digital content industry has greatly evolved.
According to a study, our country earns about 1.5 billion Mongolian tugrux a year from creative cultural production. Increasing the production of content using electronic platforms can double this revenue. For example, we are able to see the ancient city museum using virtual technology. Similarly, it is important to use digital technology to bring content production to international markets based on cultural heritage. However, we have clarified the policy to be followed in launching this type of content production for international markets.
The Ministry of Culture is preparing to submit a law on supporting creative cultural production to Parliament for the spring session. In addition, we are exploring the possibility that certain provisions to support domestic content creators could help create some tax legal opportunities. Furthermore, work is underway to incorporate policy provisions into the law that focus on balancing external content in a competitive market. We are working to organize e-art and e-cultural events, and there is an ample opportunity to continue in this direction. You can also view your favorite artwork online. You don't have to visit in person. It is now possible to participate in international events online, participate in auctions, and raise funds. The Ministry of Culture has begun testing these activities.
The industry members emphasize the importance of a legal environment on the one hand and cooperation between the government and enterprises on the other hand in the development of this type of content production for international markets.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. For a soft loan from the South Korean government, 10 provinces will have new thermal power stations. In Darkhan province, province administration is turning to its citizens' engagement to effectively improve livelihoods and carry out development projects.
Darkhan, Bayanghoнгор, Goiwaltai, and Sukhwatar are some of the 10 provinces that will have new thermal power stations built. The power stations are scheduled to be operational by 2023. In Darkhan province, which has never had thermal power, the governor says the plant will solve many issues residents are facing.
Without a power plant, there's no tap water. No hot water either, but these are basic needs. Apartments and office buildings have been using boilers, but the heat can't be kept stable because it relies on burning fuel. The thermal power station will be built in Otaste. It holds a lot of promise for addressing our challenges.
When it comes to the development of provinces and their SOMs, officials say citizen involvement is vital, in addition to sound state policies. Bayanghoнгor SOM of Khinti province has set a good example for effective cooperation between citizens and local government. They share their experience with the people of Darkhan province.
To increase civic participation, we incorporated a system of tents with 10 herder households together in one group. As a result, we saw more engagement, initiatives, and cooperating among them. It also improved community bonding and teamwork skills.
Officials say province administrations have been facing financial challenges due to the pandemic. They believe the most effective solution for maximizing resources is the active engagement of residents. In the case of Darkhan province, the annual budget allocation from the state this year is 36 billion Mongolian tugruk. Tax revenue is expected to be around 18 billion Mongolian tugruk this year. The state-funded development budget is also about 18 billion Mongolian tugruk. The thermal power plant being built with support from the South Korean government will be Darkhan's major development project over the next few years.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We will see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.